Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary and gender-fluid individuals, cyborgs, androids, interdimensional editors, and human-cat hybrid waifus, welcome to the Crushing Deep. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is working on the ceiling for the lobby of the theatre, which we started previously. As what you're seeing here is a render of my progress so far on some of the detailing for inside the lobby. As you can see, I've started adding some more detailing onto the stairway, and I've also built a quite nice Art Deco pillar here. So, but that's not what we're working on today. We're working on the ceiling, so let's get that sorted out. This whole thing's a bit cluttered, so we're going to get rid of all of this, but we're also going to bring back the basic shape of the lobby and the exterior walls so that we can make sure that the ceiling that we build is in the right place, not sticking out of the roof, and not too low down that it clips through the doors that are going to be here into the auditorium. So to do that, I want to find this. We're going to move this to the top and these two here, and move these to the top as well. I don't want it to be a child of that though. Okay, so we're going to select these all together, and then I'm going to use this plugin here called Magic Solo. And when I click that, it makes everything disappear. Now this is a bit better than simply hiding the objects because it then takes them out of the scene entirely, so it's not using up memory or processing power on those objects, but we can very easily bring them back. It's not deleted them, so if I just click that again, everything comes back. So if you're using Cinema 4D, I highly recommend that if you're working on a complicated scene. It's a completely free plugin, so just Google Magic Solo for Cinema 4D and you'll be able to get that. Okay, so currently all of these are hidden, so I'm just going to unhide these. Okay, and we've got our building back. Lovely. Okay, so we want to build a ceiling. So I'm just going to start off with a cube, and that is currently way over here because that's the center of our scene. So I am going to raise this up and bring it forward, and we're going to start working on making that bigger so that it's the dimensions fit more with what we're going for. So we don't want it very tall, but we do want it wide. Okay. Right, so if I just hide that for a second. Okay, that's roughly the right height. And if I bring that back, it's not clipping through this at all. Okay, so I'm just going to hide this again because we're probably not going to need that again now for quite a while. And really this cube was just to get an idea of the space we had to work with. So what I'm going to do, because one of the features of the ceiling that I'm really clear on wanting is having a big circular recess from which a chandelier will hang. So rather than use this cube that I've just created, I'm actually going to delete that, and I'm going to start with a cylinder. So let's bring that back into the right position. There we go. Okay, so if I go to my top perspective, I can see that here. It's not very clear because it's the same color. So let's give it a really ludicrous, vibrant material. So if we turn off the reflectance and the color and just put the luminance on so it's super bright and apply that to it, and then we can see our cylinder. Okay, so our recess is going to be sort of roughly the size of the circle I'm drawing with my mouse, but the ceiling itself is going to be the size of all of this area, and we want that to be one object. It's going to make things really complicated if we try and model lots of different objects for the different facets. So what we need is to keep the circular aspect of this cylinder here in the middle, but also extend out the edges so that it creates this sort of rectangular shape here. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to go to the settings for our cylinder. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the radius. Okay, that's roughly the size of the recess that I want. And you'll notice that's on 0 on the x-axis. So that means it's centered. So I'm a bit OCD. I don't like all these little fractions, so I'm just going to tidy this up a bit so these are whole numbers, rounded to the nearest 10. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change our display mode to broad shading lines, so now we can see all the polygons that are making up the shape. And what I'm going to do to get the shape of the overall building is I'm going to extend out all of these edges till they hit the edge of the building. But to maintain the circular shape in the middle, I'm going to add segments to the caps. In fact, before I get too far into this, I'm realizing I don't really even need it to be a 3D cylinder. All I can really need is a disc. So the sides are just giving me extra geometry that are just going to get in the way. So I'm going to create uh, a disc, and then I'm going to drop it as a child of the cylinder, simply as a very quick and easy way to get it into the right position. Let's check the radius I went for. It was 335. Okay, now I can bring that out again, turn that off, and now you see we've got our cylinder. Not a cylinder, a disc. And in fact, it's got these inner rings in it, which is what I was going to add to the cylinder, so that actually makes things a lot simpler for us. Okay, so what we need to do next is make this editable, because at the moment it's just a disk. We can't bring out the edges like I want to. So I click this button here and it becomes an editable object. And then we want to go to the points, which shows us all of our vertices. And I am going to loop select, sorry, and try and get all of the outer ring. And then I'm just going to increase the radius of that. So let's see what it looks like if we go to about 2000 centimeters. Close enough. Okay. Right, so now if I go to the lobby and halls, I'm going to select these vertices here, and I want to see how far they are on the z-axis in world coordinates. At the moment it's showing me the coordinates relative to the object, but I'm going to go to the world coordinates, and that tells me that in the scene this is minus 2,306 centimeters position on the z-axis, and I want to do that to these here. So So I'm just thinking whether I should just start sliding these or whether I should instead use a bool object. And I think I might go down the bool object route. I'll show you what that means in a minute for anybody who's unclear. So I'm going to reselect all of the outside, and I'm just going to go really insanely large on this. 4,000 centimeters. Apply. Okay, now if I lower this down so that it disappears inside the lobby, there we go. We can go and create a bool object. And what that does is basically you put two objects inside it and it creates new geometry based on the interactions between those objects. So, as an example, if I take the lobby and halls and drop them in there, and the disk, we get this. And we actually want the opposite of that. So, let's go like this. Okay. And now if we go to perspective and move our camera inside the lobby. Okay, it's really hard to see. But what we're getting is the ceiling here is actually the disk, not the top of the lobby and halls object. So I'm going to right click this, set it to current state to object, and it's just copied that, but it's not a bool object anymore, it's just the geometry. So I'm going to take the disk out, delete that because the disk is the only part of that I need. I'm going to put this down here, this in there, delete that, and hide this and that. And what we should have, perfect. Okay. Right. So because we moved the outer recess, so the outer ring of this recess that we're going to have, um, what we're left with is a ring that's actually smaller than what we intended. So I am going to select those, and I'm going to increase that to, I think it was about 670. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. But looking at it now, this looks a bit far back, so I'm going to bring it forward a little bit. Yeah, that's about where I want it. Okay, so let's get this recess looking a bit more interesting. Okay, so I've used our extrude tool to make this circle disappear inwards, and then we've got the recess that we want. I'm not sure if that's deep enough. I might move that up a bit. So let's take like that 1900, and I'm just going to bring back our building to make sure. Yeah, that was what I was afraid of. Okay, because that is clipping through it. Okay, so I'm going to bring the overall object down a bit because we've got plenty of space, I think. Okay, right, now if I bring back the halls, yeah, we're nowhere near clipping through the oh, I'm looking at the wrong side to be able to tell. Yeah, it's nowhere near clipping through the doorways, so we've still got plenty of room here. Okay, so I'm just going to hide those again. Okay. Now, I'm going to lower this. I'm using the lines rather than the polygons because I want to create this nice curve, not curve, slope here. Maybe make it a little bit higher. There we go. And then do my OCD thing and move that to a nice round number. Okay, and eventually we're going to have a big chandelier hanging from here, but we want to add lots more little details in here first. So, first little detail I want to add is I want to make that a little bit curved. So I'm going to bevel that 5 centimeters. There we go, got a nice little curve there. And do the same for this part of the recess there. And what next? I want to make this really complicated as Art Deco things are tend to be. I'm just going to bring up some of the concept art that I had to give me an idea of what's happening or what we can do. Okay, right, so this is one of the primary pieces of concept art that I'm trying to work off. You see, this is what gave me the inspiration here. I think what we really want to do is just put a few sort of rings around the inside, near the lips of everything to just sort of as a decorative flourish. Yeah, here's a nice one too. Okay. Okay, so to do that, I think what we ought to do is use, let's see. Here we go, loop path cut. So, that's a bit broken since we did the ball. Perhaps I should have, perhaps I jumped the gun a bit there with that. Not to worry, there are other ways of doing this. So, let's see. Let's go for loop selection and Huh. It's a bit messed up actually. Apologies for this, I may actually start again on that. Let's create a new disk and bring it as a child as that one. Go ahead and delete that. Set to 0. Okay, and I'm just going to give it. I'm going to add that material on there so it's easy to see. Okay, right, so I'm going to do that again and I'm going to do it in a much better way. Let's see, outer radius 4,000. That's way too big, make it 2,000. There we go. And disk segments, we're going to increase those. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make that editable and I'm going to use what I probably should have used all along, the knife tool. Okay. And then rather than using the ball tool, which is what I used before, I'm using the knife tool. And the difference is it's not going to create all sorts of extra lines running through the geometry, which is going to mess things up when I try and add extra shapes into it. Okay. The downside is it's not as accurate. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay slightly outside the lines because that way anything that bleeds through should be bleeding through the walls, I should say, should be in a place that's not immediately visible to the player when we get to the final game. I will do a little bit to tidy it up as well to minimize any clipping, but being this high up uh, and it being sort of poking through the walls to the outside, where we've got the exterior of the building sort of providing a bit of cover there as well, I don't think it'll be an issue. Okay. Now, I do apologise if anybody's trying to talk to me. Last time we did this, I had a problem with my audio, which I seem to have fixed, but I could see the chat, but for some reason I can't see the chat this time. So if you are trying to talk to me and I'm ignoring you, I apologise. I'm going to try and sort that out as we go. Sorry for going quiet there for a minute. I was just looking through the settings to try and figure out what's happened to the chat there. Okay, all right, that's something I'm just gonna have to deal with. Okay, right, so I am going to be selecting these now. Oh, I haven't put my line through, so that's not working. Okay, there we go. That's better. Okay, so nearly done with this. I will come back later on and tidy this up a bit more, but we've got the main shape, which is the important thing. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Lovely, much better. Okay, and let's take off this crazy material because we don't need that now, and go into our perspective mode. Great. Okay, so let's start putting in that recess again. So we want mesh, select, loop selection, 1, 2, 3. Yep, that's about right. And we're going to go extrude. And this time I'm going to take off that minus because the normals are reversed from where they were before. And I'm going to stick with 50 because I think I went a bit overboard with it previously. Okay, and then select this. Loop selection, and I'm going to make this slightly smaller. So there's a bit of a slope there. And then this I'm going to bring down. So perfect. Okay, and now if I use this, which I tried to use before, there we go. Now we've got full circular lines we can cut into this geometry, so we can start using that to add little lips and details. There, and let's do a few here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and if I just, I'm just going to bring up these again, just have a quick look, see if there's any inspiration it's giving me for things I need to do. Okay, no, not really. Okay, so just one more of those lines. There we go. Okay, so if I select that there, and then do an extrude again, but this time for a minus amount, so it's coming inwards, and Okay, now I'm going to start curving these, giving them a bit of character. Okay, nice and round. And this one too, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bevel that. And I'm going to make that a bit bigger so it's got a bit more curve to it. There we go. I'm happy with that. Okay, now this one here on the edge, let's do this too. So we do a loop selection again, there and there. And we'll bevel that with, I extruded it to 5 centimeters, so we'll do a 2.5 centimeter curve. So let's make that a little bit bigger. Be dangerous. There we go. 4.5 centimeters. Okay. And now that we've got that beveled, I can do the same for the next row. So let's do, oh, we want polygons rather than lines. So I'm going to do that. And extrude -5 centimeters. Okay, and then select loop selection on these. And bevel again. Okay. Oh, I've made the terrible mistake of trying to render out a scene that contains lighting information but not have any lights in it. That is the one downside of Magic Solo working with Cinema 4D. If you have no lights in your scene, then it will render it out with a flat default light across everything. As soon as you put a light in, it will take away the default light and just use the lighting data. When you use Magic Solo to get rid of the lights, Cinema 4D still knows there's lights there, so it doesn't have the default flat light, but it doesn't render it either because it's been removed. So let's click on the Magic Solo, bring that back, and let's try that again. Okay, doesn't seem to like that. Okay, that's a bit odd. Why is that so dark? Well, perhaps because we're looking up at the floor. Let's just bring a light into the scene. Actually, no, better yet, let's just get rid of the lighting information so it has the default light, because I put that on to check something else out that I don't really need anymore. So we use Magic Solo again, so we're not killing our performance. And I'm going to save it as well, because I was a bit worried it was going to crash. Okay, so... And I also need to turn off global illumination, that's it. There we go. Lovely. Okay, right. So, starting to get a bit of a nice view here, but I don't like it. I'm just going to undo everything I've done for a while. Okay. And there. Okay, so what I didn't like is that one of these lips I created was just too thick and wide. So I'm going to select this line here And very simply, I'm just going to reduce the radius of it down by a couple of centimeters to make it smaller. Maybe a bit more. Let's say 885. Nope, still too big. 880. 875. Let's try that. I'm going to go really small on this. 6.5. There we go. That's about what I want, I think. Actually, we might still be able to go a bit smaller still. Let's go to 860. Call me crazy. I'm going to go down another 10 centimeters. There we go. So a really, really, really tiny little one we're going to have here. Okay, so let's extrude that out by 5 centimeters. And select that. Oh, I want a loop selection. A loop selection here and here. And bevel that. Oh, there we go. Nice. Okay. Right, so now we're going to create one more last little lip on this ring, and then we're going to be about done with the recess, the circular recess. And then I'm going to move on to another aspect of this this ceiling that I want to create. And then we might try, if we get that done, we might try doing some texturing and materials. Okay, let's try 885. Okay, perfect. There we go. I think that looks quite nice around the outside. I'm not sure about this here though, so I think I'm just gonna do something a bit more with these. So there we go. Yeah, I think that's what I want. Perfect. That's suitably complicated. Right. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to add some sort of like tiled areas. So for this, I'm going to have sort of like divide it into quarters, but have obviously a gap around this recess that we've just created. So if I go to the top here, I'll show you what I mean. Now, I want the lines to be straight, so I'm going to start here and here, but then I'm going to need to create some extra lines using my knife tool. So I'm going to use our line cut tool here that we've got, and I'm going to select that and drag it upwards, and if I hold the shift key, that'll be a straight line. Perfect. And do the same again down here. Okay. Okay. Yep, that's going to work nicely. Okay, so let's do the same down here. And here. And here. Okay. And here. Just noticed that. Let's get rid of that. And there's one on the other side. Okay. Right. So now I can select these in the middle, and they're going to be straight lines, except they're not because I didn't do it all the way down. Okay, but I don't need those ones because that's part of the ring. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here, so we'll figure it out together. Okay, and here. Okay. Okay, right. I've had to think about it and I know what I'm doing now. So I want to create a line here, straight down and straight back up again. Okay, and I'm going to do it over this side as well. Okay. Okay. And then want... Oh dear. Okay, interesting. There seems to be lines missing here. Okay. I want to move this line along a little bit on the z-axis because it's a little bit too close to the edge. And hopefully, once I've done this, I can start modeling out the rest of the way I want to, but this is one of those times where the geometry starts getting a bit complicated and my head just stops being able to get my brain around what I need to do. It's really odd, possibly because it's late on a Friday and I've been working pretty hard all week on all sorts of different things. Had a lot going on in my personal life as well, so that may be why my brain is just sort of shutting down. But let's take a look at what we can do here. So, oh no, that's going the wrong way. Very much going the wrong way. Okay, let's. Okay, if I move that any further, then I start getting a texture glitch. Wonderful. Okay. What to do? What to do? I could try and condense all of these, but it's going to be so much work. I think what I'm going to do is I will just leave it where it is. Hopefully it won't be that noticeable. Okay. So what I can do now then is this. Let's select these like this. Whoops. Okay. Yeah, that's working the way I want it to, I think. Hmm. Except that isn't. What is happening there? Because there's clearly a line going across there, but how is that? Okay, that's confusing. Not sure what's happening there. I'm going to have to investigate. Okay. Okay, so this is really odd the way that these polygons are behaving here. So I'm going to try and cut them one more time. Okay, that seems to be working correctly now. I have no idea why I didn't before. Let's do the same this side. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Right, so I'm pretty sure I've got the shapes I need. I'm just going to have a quick cursory glance around the edges because if you don't, you miss things like this. Okay. Wherever there's tiny little gaps like this, I'm going to take a close look because you can easily miss stuff. Okay. Okay. Right, so I'm going to go back to our perspective mode. And I'm going to go mesh extrude. And I am going to go minus 20. No, 15. There we go, minus 15. And then I am going to do extrude inner, which is going to create basically the exact same shape but smaller. And I'm going to make that quite a big one, so make that 30 centimeters, so about a foot. Now because the thing I was doing earlier, that's not worked quite right because I haven't got this ticked, so I'm going to undo that, tick that, and then try again. There we go. That's what we want. Some bad geometry here. Okay. Let's select. Okay. Okay, there's a lot of tidying up I'm going to need to do there, but before I do that, I'm just going to there we go. Okay. Oh my goodness. No, actually, I'm going to have to tidy up this geometry before I do any of the changes to its height. Okay. So, let's I was hoping I could avoid this, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. Let's tidy up some of these polygons that are really tiny. So we're going to use our weld tool to bring these points together. There we go. Okay, right, so we're just trying to simplify our geometry a bit so that when I move them, they don't all start overlapping and creating errors for mapping the materials. Okay, so I had hoped to stream for a couple of hours like I did last time, but I'm going to be honest, my brain's a bit fried, so I don't think I'm going to be making it that far tonight. What I'm going to do is I am going to come back to this particular part of it tomorrow, and I will show you my progress in my weekly upload on Sunday. What I would like to do is, because I'm quite proud of it, I'm gonna show you a bit more detail on the pillar that I made. So I'm gonna unclick the magic solo on here, and this immediately actually shows me that the top of the pillar is sticking through there. So that's something I need to take into consideration. But let's magic solo. Okay. Just going to turn on render settings to make this look super nice. Physical. Okay, right. So just going to render this out. So we see you've got a sort of gold at the top and white marble down this part, and then black marble and gold further down. It's all very much based on the look of these pillars here. And I'm just going to come around and show you from this angle. And also if I zoom in here, I can show you this really cool relief that I've got on here. I want to try and do more things like this. At the moment, I think though, this is a bit too detailed for it to be passable as Art Deco. I want to go to a more simplistic design, but I can come back to that later. But yeah, like I said, my brain's fried tonight. So thank you very much for anyone who has been watching, and I will speak to you again soon. Thank you. Bye bye.